I have been a big fan of John Scalzi since I read Old Man's War back in 2008. He is the modern version of the best science fiction writers of the 50s and 60s. He writes very entertaining popcorn science fiction novels that are a lot of fun if you read them and never look below the surface. But like all the greats in the genre, his stories have subtext that explore things like what it means to be human, free will, personal identity, aging, love, sapience, all that stuff. I think most people never look past their initial impressions of his works, and it's a shame. He is a great writer. Today, I want to go over all of his books that I've read, and hopefully some of you will give a few of them a try. I seriously have never read a bad book from him. As I go through them, I will give you some commentary on Scalzi's writing. These are in no particular order, other than I saved the best for last, also the weirdest, so let's get this going. The first two are from the Old Man's War series. Old Man's War was his first published novel, but not his first novel. I'll cover that later in this video. Old Man's War is a military science fiction novel in the style of things like Starship Troopers, but this is actually good compared to Starship Troopers, and The Forever War. Like, The Forever War is the end-all be-all science fiction military novel, but Old Man's War treads a lot of the same things as both of those books, but does it in a different way that I think adds just as much to the genre. One of the things I've noticed with Scalzi is that he takes these ideas that have been done before and gives them his own twist, and it has always worked well. This is not always true, but generally he's treading paths others have been down before, which is fine with me. Nothing is original. We are still just copying the Epic of Gilgamesh, but with extra steps. This book follows 75-year-old John Perry, who joins the Colonial Defense Forces on his birthday. In this future, elderly volunteers can enlist to fight in intergalactic wars, receiving new enhanced bodies to do so. Perry quickly learns that humanity is locked in a brutal struggle for survival against alien species, and it really sucks. They all want us dead, and he has to adapt to these harsh realities and war. Along the way, he grapples with questions of identity, morality, and loss. This book is outstanding. You ask most people what their favorite Scalzi book is, they're probably going to say Old Man's War. The novel just is this perfect blend of action, humor, and philosophical reflection. I love that you spend this whole time exploring themes like aging and love and what it means to be human. The Ghost Brigades is the second novel in the Old Man's War series. It follows the elite Special Forces soldiers, nicknamed the Ghost Brigades. They're engineered from the DNA of volunteers that died, so they don't have the consciousness of an old person in a young body. These are young bodies that are just blank slates, and they make the perfect soldiers. The story centers on Jared Duroc, a soldier implanted with the consciousness of Charles Boutin. He was a traitor who defected to help the alien species fight humanity. What they wanted to do was access Charles's memories so they could find out where he is and what he did, but they didn't stick. So Jared is sent to the Ghost Brigades, and over time, Jared begins to access pieces of Boutin's memory as he struggles with his own emerging identity and loyalty. The plot explores themes of free will, identity, and morality as Jared uncovers a conspiracy involving alien alliances and Boutin's betrayal. This is yet again blends fast-paced action, military strategy, and philosophical questions that are slightly different than Old Man's War, so it's nice that you get to see it from a different perspective while still exploring this very interesting Earth future history. There are scenes in these books that I still think about all the time, 16 years after I read them. Normal popcorn genre fiction just doesn't do that. These are must-reads for anyone that enjoys military science fiction or anyone that wants to give the subgenre a try. Like, this is probably the easiest barrier to entry alongside The Forever War. This next series is a duology that takes a lot of interesting elements of classic science fiction and blends them with the traditional police procedural. It reminds me a lot of Asimov's like The Caves of Steel, because you're working with like a robot but not. I'll get into it in a second. This is another way Scalzi takes well-known tropes and twists them into something new. In Lock-In, a near-future virus called Hayden's Syndrome leaves a portion of the population locked in. They're fully conscious, but they cannot move or communicate. To interact with the world, affected individuals use robotic bodies called threeps, or they control human integrators who act as physical proxies. You can basically connect into someone and feel all the sensations they feel and control their body, but you gotta pay for it. The story follows Chris Shane, a rookie FBI agent and Hayden's survivor, investigating a murder where an integrator is implicated. As Chris and their partner Leslie Van dig deeper, they uncover a conspiracy involving politics, corruption, and the technology surrounding Hayden's. The novel combines science fiction, mystery, and social commentary exploring themes of identity, disability, and the ethics of human-robot interaction. That's where some of the Asimov stuff comes in, but one of the cool things about the way this book was written is Chris is never identified with a specific gender, which makes sense when you consider Chris has been locked in since they were a toddler. They don't have a body in the same way that we do. It is an interesting thought experiment, and yet again, another twist on what would have been a basic science fiction police procedural. The audiobooks come in two different versions, one narrated by Will Wheaton and another by Amber Benson. Listening to the different versions has an effect on you as a reader because Chris doesn't have a gender, so when you hear from a feminine voice or a masculine voice, it changes how you think about the book and how you think that character interacts with other people. It is fascinating. The sequel, Head On, follows the same murder procedural narrative structure, but this time has a heavy emphasis on the intersection of sports, corporate greed, and human connection. It is just as good as the first one. Anyone that enjoys crime novels and wants to venture out of their comfort zone should check these out. So this next one was his actual first novel, but he published it as a shareware novel back in 1999 before he had a book deal. Subterranean Press released a really cool edition with cover art by Mike from Penny Arcade. That book is Agent to the Stars. It is a humorous sci-fi novel about first contact between humans and an alien species called the Urajsk. These aliens are friendly but have a major problem. They look like giant gelatinous blobs and smell terrible, making them unlikely to be well received by humanity. So to improve their public image, they hire Tom Stein, a young and talented Hollywood agent, to introduce them to Earth. This novel is a blend of comedy and satire, offering a lighthearted exploration of themes like image, acceptance, and the power of storytelling. This is one of those books I would recommend to anyone, even if they don't read science fiction. It is just so funny that a lot of this book is like mocking the entertainment industry and its effect on both the people in the industry and the people that consume the entertainment, and that aliens show up and they're like, we have an image issue, so we should hire a Hollywood publicist because they can fix these problems and integrate us into society. It's just so funny. I really, really enjoy that book. Like I said at the beginning, there's not a bad John Scalzi book. Are the characters super memorable? Not necessarily, but the stories are so fun. The other one that has like the same kind of mockery of Hollywood that I would recommend is Redshirts. It is a satirical sci-fi novel that pokes fun at the tropes of expendable crew members in shows like Star Trek. The story follows Ensign Andrew Dahl, a new recruit aboard the spaceship Intrepid, where low-ranking crew members seem to die frequently and absurdly during any missions that you leave the ship. It's just like Star Trek with the red shirts getting nuked. It's so funny. Not surprisingly, a great deal of energy below decks is spent avoiding being assigned to a mission where you leave the ship. So at some point, Andrew stumbles upon information that completely changes him and his colleagues' understandings of what the Starship Intrepid is and offers a crazy high-risk chance to save their own lives. The novel explores themes of fate, free will, and narrative manipulation, blending humorous metafiction and existential questions. It's both a parody of science fiction tropes and a thoughtful commentary on storytelling. I really enjoy the ending and what Scalzi has to say about lazy writing in the entertainment industry. Carlos at StoryTube has a great review of this novel. Everyone should go check it out. I will put a link in the description. Like I said before, I'm going to save the strangest novel for last. So before we get to that, I want to talk about Scalzi's homage to H. Beam Piper. Fuzzy Nation was originally written as an exercise between book negotiations, but Scalzi's agent eventually took the book to the Piper estate and asked for permission to publish it. Scalzi's goal with the novel was to make a more approachable version of the original novel Little Fuzzies that would also work as a way of introducing people to Piper's books. Fuzzy Nation follows Jack Holloway, a down-on-his-luck prospector on the planet Zoe's Hope, where he discovers a species of small furry creatures he names Fuzzies. When Jack realizes that the Fuzzies exhibit signs of intelligence, he becomes embroiled in a legal battle over their rights as sentient beings. This novel explores themes of corporate greed, ethics in science, and the definition of personhood. Remember, I mentioned sapience at the beginning. The sharp, witty social commentary in this novel makes it stand out among his writing. Yet again, we have another banger. I really appreciate that this novel exists because it introduced me to H. Beam Piper. I have a collection of H. Beam Piper books and I am really looking forward to reading them, and a big part of that was because I read Fuzzy Nation. So I know some people poo-poo him just like stealing someone's IP and writing something about it. One, he got permission from the estate, and two, he's significantly more popular than H. Beam Piper, and one of the reasons he published it was to direct people to this author's works. I think that part of the great science fiction conversation needs to be newer writers who are incredibly popular introducing all of their readers to the talent that got the genre to where it is today. Now, this last one is very strange, but it is also my favorite book from John Scalzi. The Android's Dream starts with a human diplomat dying during a fart prank he pulled on an alien race as an act of revenge. Then the book gets weirder from there. It essentially starts this diplomatic incident where these aliens are like, we are going to go to war with you if you don't do what we ask. And so the story follows Harry Creek, a low-level diplomat tasked with a seemingly absurd mission to obtain the perfect sheep for an interstellar diplomatic event involving the powerful and peculiar Nidarians, who require this specific animal for their ceremonies. When a clone of the sheep is stolen and a conspiracy unfolds, Harry finds himself embroiled in a high-stakes political game involving androids, secret agents, and galactic intrigue. Along the way, he must navigate bizarre situations and unravel a plot that could have far-reaching consequences for all of humanity. This novel blends humor, action, and sharp social commentary, exploring themes of identity, diplomacy, and the absurdities of a bureaucratic system. There is also a subplot about coming to terms with the loss of a friend, artificial intelligence, and the futility of war that I found poignant in a way that I rarely see in novels that take themselves seriously. So this book is something special. Scalzi really shows off how strange his storytelling can be, while also showing off how fast-paced and badass he can write. There is a chase scene in this book that takes place at the Arlington Mall in DC that is amazing. One of the best chase scenes I've ever read. I love this book, and I think I am due up for a reread. This is about half of his published novels, and I plan on reading the rest over the next few years. I miss reading his books. Scalzi can be entertaining and lighthearted while still giving you enough substance to really dwell on his novels for a long time. Scalzi's sharp wit and engaging narratives offer a great vessel for exploring themes such as identity, free will, and the moral implications of technology. And I mean, that is what we want out of science fiction. Well, it's what I want out of science fiction and pretty much all science fiction enjoyers over the last 100 years. He invites readers to consider what it means to be human in a rapidly changing world while addressing things such as social commentary and ethical dilemmas. The exploration of topics such as corporate greed and the treatment of sapient beings, as seen in Fuzzy Nation and The Android's Dream, pair perfectly with his ability to blend humor into these serious themes that makes him an innovative writer that everyone should check out. Let me know in the comments if you give one of these books a try, and also let me know if any of you out there are Scalzi fans. I feel like online I only ever see Scalzi haters. I wonder if a lot of the Scalzi haters are just salty that he called them out in his collection of short fiction that's basically saying, nobody's impressed by you typing on your keyboard at Starbucks, go home and actually do some writing, or whatever it's called. I'll post a picture as I'm saying this. I don't think I have anything else to say. Thanks for watching, and with that, I'll see you next time.